I don't even know if this is legal. People used to always tell me that you can only talk about 1 point. Then other people said you can only talk about 2 points. Then other people were like, well, three is the magic number and you can't go over that. And I just believe that I believe you need to share the story that God has in you, no matter where it's at, and also share it to as many people as possible so you can be that light in their life. John Elston, I want to tell you, you continue to be a light. Just your comments, man, like your comments, your texts, all those things are amazing. Um, and that is my TED Talk. That's what I heard a guy say to me yesterday. I was on a plane. I flew out to Laredo, Tennessee. James Dixon, it is not Nashville. But we went out to Laredo for the Absolute Motivation Tour. It was unreal. I got to spend some time with the former Attorney General Sean Reyes, got to hang out with the director of the Medal of Honor guys, Dana Fitrakis. This guy is unbelievable. I mean, we're just sitting and talking and having these conversations back in the green room, and it was unreal scenario. Why, Friday night I coach flag football and can't miss a game. So the only way that I could make it in was into Tennessee was by doing the red eye. So I did the game. We won 52-6. My son threw a left-handed touchdown, which I had challenged him to. And I said, I'll give you $20 if you do this, but I didn't think he was going to be able to do it in a game. He did it. He was like, yes, do I get my $20, Dad? I high-fived him, drove right to the airport, flew out to Huntsville, actually flew all the way to Washington, D.C., and then back to Huntsville from there. And then drove an hour and a half after to, go and do a keynote for Absolute Motivation Tour and with James Dixon. It was unreal. I mean, the people that I got a chance to be able to meet, and I walked in and I wanted to make sure that what my mom had told me, what my pops had told me, and what I had heard Michael Jordan say, which was, if this is the only time that somebody's going to see you, give them 100%. Even if you maybe you're tired, you've gone through a lot, whatever it is, just make sure that person, that can be the only time that they ever come in contact with you. So make it count. And got a chance to be able to spend some time with Darren Dunn also, and Mike Oster, and just an unbelievable group of people. But if you're not present in that moment, you actually don't get the opportunity. And Dana reached out to me yesterday. He deals with all the Medal of Honor recipients, so we're going to have some of them here on the podcast. And he told me, he said, within 2 minutes, I know if I can trust you or not. And he said, you passed that test. And we just got to laugh and, and connect. And it wasn't about, what can I get from you or what can he get from me or anything like that. It was just about a connection point. And then the next morning I wake up at 7 o'clock, I think, 5 o'clock in the morning to drive another hour and a half back to the airport and get on the plane. And on my way back from Houston to San Diego, the flight attendant walks up and he looks a lot like the REM lead singer. And he stops and he's like, hey, are you in a band? And I said, no, I'm not in a band. And he said, well, there's some guys and they had some Megadeth jackets on. And, I thought maybe you guys were all together. And I said, no. And he said, what do you do? I said, I'm a keynote speaker and a podcaster. And he said, okay, cool. What do you speak on? I said, I speak on the vibe. It's not the energy you bring into the room, but the way in which people feel when you leave. And he was like, oh, man. Have you ever heard of Megadeth? You connected with them? And I was like, nah, I didn't grow up with the heavy metal side. My brother did, all the stuff. And he said, well, I just read a book. I'm going to kill this story too. So you've probably read the book and you know the story a lot better than me. But it's I think it's the simple art of not giving an F or something like that. And he said that there was a band member in Metallica that got kicked out. And he got kicked out right before Metallica made it big. Well, he was disgruntled and he went off and made another band, and that band became the number 2 heavy metal band in the world. But he was always mad because he was only number 2. And I think it grinded him even more because Metallica was number 1. And what the guy told me was it was always perception. It was just always the perception of what it is that you had. When you compare it to somebody else, you'll never live up to it. But when you just stay grateful about what you're doing, he was the number 2 band in the world. That should be, that's an incredible feat. Although in his world, he deemed himself as a failure because he was only number 2 and number 1 was the band that he had left before or got kicked out of before. And so and he walked, he said to me at the end, he's like, and that's my TED talk. And then it was almost like mic drop, and he walked away. And I just sat and I was like, how many things in my life am I comparing to something else as opposed to just looking at all the incredible blessings that are happening right now? And so it really sparked a lot. And then I sat down and I was, reading through Proverbs 23. And I was like, God, how are you going to be able to, I'm tired, right? Because I've flown a lot during this time. I'm on the flight, just expended some energy, doing a keynote for Absolute Motivation with James Dixon and all these guys. And here's this random dude that walks up, and most of the time the flight attendant doesn't even talk to you. They just say, like, can you give me some water? But how are you going to take this guy and drop a lesson on me and then like reaffirm it right afterwards in words that were written 3,000 years ago? And so I challenged God, and I was like, there's no way. There is absolutely no way that you could do this. But you know what he did? He delivered like he always does. And I mean, I guess it doesn't surprise me now. It still blows me away that God can, take these principles. And as I sat, and I want to tell you this, a side note is while I sat with Absolute Motivation and I listened to all the speakers, every one of the speakers had their own story and their own way of going about it and their message and how they were going. And some of them had, some steps to be able to do it, some pillars and all these things. And what I kept realizing is all of these things that they're talking about, all of it, if you take it down, you strip it all down, it all goes back to Proverbs and the wisdom of Proverbs. It does. Like I look at this stuff all the time, and in Proverbs 23, it reminds us of what my mama would always tell me. You are beautiful. Don't compare yourself to anyone. So as that guy walked away and he said, and that is my TED talk, I was left with the fact of how many things in my life am I comparing to something else as opposed to just focusing on the blessing that I have. So why don't we get this party started?
Nothing more on my mind. I got to shine, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
I knew that you would be there. I appreciate you. And I hope that today, on this Monday, you take the time to sit in and just count your blessings. This is a thing that my mom would talk about all the time. And she would always talk about, like, count your blessings, name them one by one. And then what I would do is I'd count the blessings, but then I'd look at my neighbors, or I'd look at my friend, or I'd look at somebody else that was younger than me, or maybe didn't have as much time in their industry. And I would think, but look at what they're doing. They could do so much more. And so, I would suggest and just really encourage you. If you're listening today, you're watching today, I want to thank you. But I would encourage you, just the comparison part, just throw it away. Think of the flight attendant. And I didn't even get his name. I'm sorry. I told him to listen to the podcast. And if you're listening, I want to tell you, you're amazing. You look like the rock star. You made my day. You inspired me. And I'm actually going to be speaking about you a lot. So please message me and let me know of your name. But you really impacted my day yesterday by just dropping the mic and just telling me, and that was my TED Talk. And then you just bolted, and it was incredible. For those of you, too, who have been listening to Inchstones for quite some time, over the last year, I talked about this thing. I'm holding it up. It's called The Vibe Within. It's a notebook to unleash your potential with Proverbs. And I've talked about this, and I said that we were going to do it, but it's finally done. This is the author's copy. I've got it in my hand, and what it does is it takes you through the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day. It's got a place to be able to write your daily reflections, and it's got enough for 3 months. So the cool thing is you're able to compare June to July to August, and right next to each other. And we've got them listed off of, like, when you read the proverb, the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day, it's got it there. And you mark this book up, and then you write in your daily reflections. What hit you in the heart? What did it, what in your mind? Where specifically in your life does this verse resonate? And then what can you do today and to add action to that theory? And so it walks you through. So it's a 3-month journal. It is going to be available in the next couple of days. The Vibe Within. I am so excited to be able to have this. So because I'm going to put out that challenge, I want to put out the challenge of a 90-day challenge to business owners, to just anyone watching or listening to the podcast, that in 90 days, I'm not saying that, it's not going to be like, some workout regimen, but I could tell you this: if you start filling up your spirit and you read the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day for 90 days, I guarantee you the comments will fill up like crazy, like absolute nuts, of saying that this has been happening in my life. I've been able to see this. I've been able to see this in my relationship, in my marriage, in my work, whatever it is. The Vibe Within, the book, it's here. I'm excited about it. So it is going to be amazing. And also too, what'll be great with it is it'll actually just take you through Inchstones. So when you listen, you hear my perspective. I'm giving you a perspective on Proverbs, but it's mine. It's something that I'm going through. But what I want to do is I want to spark that in you, where you're reading the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day. And first you read the word, then it starts reading you. And I've been doing this for 30 years, and it never reads the same because my circumstances are always different. So let's jump into Proverbs 23, because it reminds us of what my mama used to always tell me: you're beautiful, so don't compare yourself to anybody. And she would include, don't compare yourself to anyone, including yourself yesterday, because you don't want to kill the thought process or the incredibly perfect moment that happened yesterday. And some of us do this where we're taught, like, don't ever compare yourself. I only compare myself to myself, and I do this. And it's like, why don't we just stop comparing? And this is probably one of the hardest things to do. It's the easiest thing to say to all of us right now. And as I'm saying it, I'm not judging you. I'm just saying, like, check it out. I want to go back to this as far as this journal too, the Vibe Within, that will be available in the next couple of days. You'll be able to order it on Amazon. What I did too is I actually marked up a couple of it for you, and I put in little side verses of what I took from that particular proverb. So it's just kind of fun, exciting that way, and so I'm excited for you guys to be able to get it in your hands and be able to work with it. So check that out. It will be on the website and everything like that. So my wife just sent me some videos on it too, which I think will be really cool. So I'll be posting them on social media. So in Proverbs 31, in verse 1 and 2 is work your land and consume your crops instead of gazing at someone else's. And this is probably one of the hardest things for me to hear. It's easy for me to say, even harder to do. So easy to say, hard to hear, very challenging to do. Work your land, consume your crops instead of gazing at somebody else's, because this is where I've gotten challenges in the past, whether it be work or finances, things, especially things. You get a car, it's brand new, you're so excited about it. It's brand new to you. That's how we used to always say cars, because we never got new ones growing up. 71 Corolla station wagon. It was new to me in like 1990. And I was so excited about it, almost 20 years old, but then, I'd see somebody else and they would have like a Honda Civic. Paula, she got it for her birthday and it was beautiful. And I was like, man, that thing is no joke. She was my best friend, so I was happy for her, but also I kind of compared it to my own car, right? As opposed to just focusing on the blessing that I had, I was comparing. So just be conscious of that as much as possible. And, I just want to help you to hopefully do something that's very challenging for me to do on a day-to-day basis. So in verse 4 and 5, a relationship with God will bring prosperity, but prosperity won't create a relationship with God. Think of that part of it, right? A relationship with God will bring prosperity, but prosperity won't create a relationship with God. Most of the time, if we become prosperous without God around us, we do it through our own systems, things like that. What'll happen is we have the tendency to that thing or those accomplishments become our God. That's what we worship, and we become afraid of that thing going away. And when we're again in relationship, all those things, You want to make sure that your eyes are on God. The other person in the relationship, their eyes are on God, and God brings you together. That's what's going to be a bond that won't be able to be broken. So, I want to encourage you in that, as you go through in verse 6 through 8, a desire for God's will always deliver. um, this is a tough one because my pops used to always tell me, he was like, I'm praying for God's will. I was like, well, I need God's will to be this today. I was in my men's group last week, and we asked, do you have any prayer requests? And one of my buddies, he's so funny. He was like, I'd like prayer on this thing. And what I said was, we're going to pray for God's will in this. And he was like, well, I need God's will to be this. And we were kind of laughing at it, joking, tongue in cheek. But a lot of times that's the way that we pray. Oh God, like I want this to happen. Your will be done, as long as it is the house on the hill or the car exactly that I want or the promotion that I want. When we pray for God's will, it always delivers, but it delivers on a level that is so much greater than what we could ever even imagine. And when we allow him to work, it's phenomenal what can happen. And that means us getting out of the way. In verse 9, silly people don't want to hear your wisdom. This one is tough. Like I watch this, I'll sit down and have a conversation with somebody, and I've learned over time that sometimes people don't want to hear you talk at all. They just want to hear themselves talk, or they want to be, their ideas be reiterated. So just be very conscious of this. There's also mirroring people, and you guys have been around these type of people before, where they'll hear a couple of words that you talk about, and then they will just repeat the type of vernacular that you're talking with, which I find challenging at times, but now I can, because watch this, if I have the fear of God, it brings wisdom, which is the right use of knowledge, right? That brings knowledge, insight, it brings discretion. That discretion will bring discernment. I got to have some discernment recently because I had some people come around that were mirroring me. And they heard a couple of words that I had said, and then they were like, they heard me talk about God. And then their whole vocabulary became all about God, because they wanted to make sure that to connect, because they wanted to extract something. But because of fear of God, which created wisdom, which created knowledge, which brought in understanding and insight, discretion, I had my muscle of discernment, and I was able to see it from a mile away. So that's also in the book too, the round robin around there. I'm so excited about the vibe within the workbook through Proverbs. It is, I tell you, for every men's group, for every woman's group, as far as church, if you have a church and there's an opportunity to be able to come and speak to your congregation and share with them the power of Proverbs over the last 30 years, it would be my absolute honor. In verse 10 and 11, respect those who come before you, although desiring their outcome is just silly. We're called to respect our elders. We're called to respect the people that came before us, but to desire their outcome would just be, it's just silly. That's where God's will comes in, and God just has he has a plan for everything that's going on in your life, and he wants to encourage you that it's his purpose, his plan, and his timing. And when we give up our will for his will, I'm telling you, it'll just blow your mind. And I'm excited about, again, I'm going to challenge you. When I say 90 days, that's a long time. Some people will do a 30-day challenge and just do Proverbs for the first 30 days. Some of them will do it for 60 days. Some will do it for 90. And then some will just have, this is 3 months. So you have 4 books that will take you through a full year, and you'll be able to compare your notes and where you were at, and exactly where you're at from June to July to August, or the corresponding months, which can be amazing. In verse 12, apply your heart to instruction and your ears to the words of knowledge. Now, I wrote that exactly from Proverbs 23. The reason why, as I was translating, I was looking at it, I was like, there's no better way to be able to say that. Apply your heart to instruction. And where do we want to get instruction for our heart? Well, through the fear of God, right? He created us. He created all of us together. And so when we do this, it's incredible. And what I would challenge leaders in a company, I promise you, if you go through Proverbs for just 30 days, you'll start to look at your company and your culture, your leadership, and your systems completely different. It'll start to shift things in a way that it'll be unimaginable. In verse 13 and 14, it takes discipline to stay away from comparison. I told you, it's easy to say, hard to hear. even harder to do. In verse 15 and 16, store up wisdom in your heart, and your words will speak life. We've talked about this before. Whatever is coming out of your mouth is an overflow of your heart, but the overflow of your heart means it got into your heart somehow. So store up wisdom. Where does wisdom come from? It's the right use of knowledge. It comes from the fear of God or the respect of God, and the only way you can respect him is by spending a little bit of time with him. So if you spend time with God, then you'll store up wisdom in your heart, and that wisdom will pour words that speak life into people. We tried this exercise, and I would suggest that you do it inside of your company, your organization, wherever you're at. We did this at the Absolute Motivation Tour. I took, and for the first 5 minutes, there was, probably about 25 people in a smaller room, and I talked to them, and I said, look, we're going to take 15 seconds apiece. 15 seconds for 25 people is about 6 minutes, give or take, just over 6 minutes. You got 15 seconds. Say someone's name. Say what they did specifically to inspire you. And it changed the tone of the room. The reason why is because people want to be seen and they want to be heard. And if you speak back to them what they did that inspired you, it can change things. I mean, I tell you, if you have a company, start your day like this. And that's what we do with the Vibe Within. I mean, honestly, it's a workbook for you. It's not it's not that I'm saying, hey, you need to read all my words. This is you reading through, and then you'll start to read your own words, which would be amazing. But it could be telling. I'm very, very excited about it. Desiring God's will is wise. And that's verse 17 and 18. That's just, if you want to be wise, you'll desire God's will. God's will for your life is way better than your own. And, sometimes we think, like I was thinking that with the Absolute Motivation Tour when I was going, I was thinking, oh man, I got to make sure that I, kill the keynote and I do the greatest and all the stuff. But it was the time in the green room that with Dana, with the former Attorney General of Utah, Sean Reyes, sitting with them, sitting with Darren Dunn, sitting with Mike Oster, sitting with James and laughing. Those were the moments in between that were the real magic and the real connection point. And God will deliver exactly what he has in his will, but it'll be in his timing too. In verse 19 and 21, keep a sober mind and you will see silliness from a mile away. I talked about this because I was able to see silliness from a mile away just in the last couple of weeks, where I had a person coming at me and they were mirroring me, and I could tell. And the reason why I could tell is because I had discernment in the situation, because I had the muscle of discretion that was worked by insight, and that insight was built by understanding. The understanding was built by knowledge. Knowledge was built by wisdom, and the wisdom came from the fear of God or spending time with him. And so when that happens, what happens is you start to get more and more protected in so many areas of your life, no matter where you're at. In verse 22 through 25, listen, buy, and apply wisdom. Listen, buy, and apply wisdom. Listen, buy, and apply wisdom. If you listen to wisdom, now buying means that you have to invest, whether it be your money, your time, all those things that you have to do that. And what I would suggest, literally 15 minutes a day, do this. 15 minutes a day when you get the Vibe Within, 15 minutes a day, sit down, read the proverb, and then ask yourself, where did it hit me in my heart? What did it make me think of? And what action can I add to it? Take 15 minutes and do that. And then take a 15-minute walk. And on that walk, listen to this podcast, right? And walk until the podcast is done. And what you'll find is you'll fill up your soul, you'll fill up your body. I mean, I tell you, you'll start to see things transform. Let's see here. In verse 26 through 28, guard your heart and be careful of your eyes. Silliness is on the way, clothed in shiny things. Let me say it again. Guard your heart and be careful of your eyes, what you see. Silliness is on the way, clothed in shiny things. In Proverbs 23, it was talking about that silliness is already coming. And silliness most of the time is clothed in comparison. Because once we start comparing ourselves, then we'll never live up to anything else. But it's on its way. So guard your heart and be careful of the things that you watch and be careful of the things that you see. Verse 26 through 28 was powerful. In verse 29 through 35, as we finish up, is when your heart is heavy, strife is present, complaints are many, you are beat down and tired. Silliness is lurking, ready to get your focus off of your blessing by comparing them to someone else's. Let me just say it one more time. When your heart is heavy, strife is present, complaints are many, you are beat down and tired, silliness is lurking, ready to get your focus off of your blessings by comparing them to someone else's blessings. God will show up in so many different areas, but most of the time, most of the time what I find is that he does it through people. But we've got to be open and we've got to be present in that moment to be able to have the people that God will bring into our life that will bring so much blessing. I got blessed by the flight attendant yesterday, and I want to thank you so much for checking out the podcast. I want to thank you so much for stopping and talking to me, and I want you to understand that you really, really inspired me this week. And as we finish up, comparison is the thief of all joy, and joy is falling in love with your current circumstances and allowing magic to happen. If this is the case, it would be wise to stop comparing our lives to others and accept the joy that we were designed to work in. And that is my TED Talk. My name is Kelly Cardenas. We got the Vibe experience coming up April 12th. I want you guys to come check that out. If you haven't checked out our Substack, do that. If you want to read it, it's Substack. You want to listen and watch it, you're doing it here on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. If you want to experience it, it's the Vibe experience, April 12th. Or if you want to engage with it, I get to come and speak to your company. But I tell you, if you have a church, I want to come and share the power of Proverbs and talk about men's groups, women's groups, and how it can actually happen. We got the Vibe Within. This is coming out in the next couple of days. If you're watching, you can see it. If you're listening, I'm holding up the book. That's a journal that will take you through 3 months of Proverbs, and it'll ask you where it hit, a verse where it hit your heart, where it hit your mind, where it hit your skill. And then when we align those, that creates a irresistible vibe. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Kelly Cardenas, and I am officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and so.